Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today, Kimberly Corbin, and she's the Chief Administrative and Financial Officer at the Greater Washington Urban League. We also have Brendalan Jackson. She's the Chief Mental Health Officer at the Greater Washington Urban League. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Now, I want to start the discussion off. It's back to school time. And I recently interviewed Brendalan about a event that you all have coming up, and it's one of the things that you're doing that makes your event a little bit different from all of the other events that are going on this time of year, is that you've added a mental health element to it that other people are not focusing on as much. And one of those things is the families get a chance to ask a therapist the questions they have, because that's one of the big things, of course, that kids deal with in going back to school is mental health issues such as bullying. And we want to make sure that kids are prepared. So what are you guys doing to make sure that kids are prepared with this particular event?
So with this particular event, we have Ask a Therapist, and that is a 15-minute session, private sessions that families will have with the therapist. And what that looks like is the parents will go in and ask a variety of questions they may have about their children or about themselves. And what we're doing is the families will show up. They may ask questions. I notice my child is isolated. I know my child is worrying a lot. I know my child last year struggled with going to school. How can I prepare for this school year? And then, as I said to you before, with our young people, they do not know how to use the language to describe what's going on inside.
They just know something's going on.
That is correct. So we have clinical mental health professionals will be there who have worked 10 plus years with working with young people and families. So they will be able, when families come and ask questions about what's going on with my child, they'll be able to ask other follow-up questions about, so does your child sleep late? Does your child lack of sleep? Does your child worry about going outside? So they are equipped to ask certain questions about what may be going on.
Now, what do parents need to know
So,
as far as looking for signs,
good.
what's going on with the kids? What do parents need to know?
That's a great question. So our parents need to know if I see a difference in my child. So a difference could be, I notice that my child does not go outside to play anymore with their friends. I notice that my child doesn't enjoy fun activities that were fun once before. I notice that my child does not sleep. Because I have parents who call and say, Ms. Jackson, my kid does not sleep at all. What can I do? They may say my child is lack of motivation. They're not motivated. They don't eat. They gain weight. So there are many things they can look for and be able to come to us on that day to ask those questions.
And this may air after the events, but this information is vital. What parents should know is vital anytime. Yes. What parents should know when they're, dealing with kids going back to school, because they have so much more confronting them than we did when we were kids.
I agree. And for families are struggling with truancy, but not understanding the root of truancy. It's not that I'm just not going to school. What's causing me not to go to school? What's causing me not to go to school is social anxiety. I may have to walk down the street. There may be gang, there may be violence. But what do I do with that once I understand that? So that may be a bigger picture. When families come in and talk to us, my kid's not going to school, let's talk about what else is going on, why they're not going to school. Let's get to some of the root issues.
Do you see more with boys than girls?
I do not. I can say it's 50-50. I think girls, we can see it louder. We can see it bigger. We can see the attitude. Boys, they're quiet, they're isolated, but it shows up irritable, angry, and sometimes we may say they're aggressive. No, they're not aggressive. Let's figure out what does that really mean. So I don't know if I could say if I see it more girls or boys and girls.
Now, Kimberly, there are several initiatives that are taking place now with the Greater Washington Urban League. One of them is dealing with fatherhood. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So we have recently really understood that in order for a child to have a better future, we need to restore the man in the house or the father with the father relationship. So we are embarking on launching a whole new fatherhood initiative, but this is different. We're not there to beat the fathers up. We're not there to talk about what they are or not doing. We are there to understand the root causes of their behavior, to understand their emotions, and give them a safe space to claim their brilliance and to understand how they could become the best father they could. And so we realized that at the Back to School Festival in particular, we're really concerned, and we just had our final meeting yesterday. And my challenge to the entire staff was, when you see a man come to the Back to School Festival, who is going to address him? Who is going to say welcome? Who is going to let them know that we value and cherish fatherhood just as much as we do motherhood? So we will be at the Back to School Festival making sure that fathers are welcomed. But thereafter, we will be launching a full fatherhood initiative that will focus on their mental health, their own self-care, helping them with parenting classes, helping them with mediation with the custodial parent if they're not married, so that they have a parenting plan that they can be a part of. We want our fathers to be part of our families.
I think a lot of black fathers have gotten a bad rap.
Absolutely.
When it comes to fatherhood, it's like this stereotype of him just leaving the kids, having a lot of kids, and just leaving the mothers and the children to fend for themselves. And I know, including my own husband, I know a lot of African American men in particular who want to be good fathers.
Absolutely.
But probably a lot of the young ones, they want to be, but they don't quite know what to do. How is this initiative going to help? And you said make them feel comfortable and help guide them in the right direction. The fact that they're at the fair itself is good news.
Yes. So we hope our fathers take the Ask a Therapist session as well. We will not just be reaching out to mothers to take those. We will be reaching out to fathers to have those conversations as well. But I want to just, black fathers are not bad. Black men are not bad at being black fathers. That is a myth. What we have is a lot of fathers who weren't fathered themselves. And so if you've never seen what fathering looks like, what effective fathering looks like, how can you emulate it? So one of the things in this program, we will show them best practices for fathering and what does that look like. If you've never been a man, if you've never seen a man, you can't be a man. Never seen a good father, can't be a good father. So we are going to allow them to have the mentors of good fathering and the best practices from our mental wellness folks, from our parent education folks, from our teachers, from all of those that work with children. What does it mean? How do you relate with your children?
And of course, the lessons are different when it's an in-house father opposed to co-parenting.
Yes.
And I guess navigating that in itself is a big area.
So one of the services we'll be providing for them is what we call our parenting plan. It's a mediated session between the father and the custodial parent, and there'll be a professional mediator whose job it is to get them to understand, to create a parenting plan, a co-parenting plan, and how they relate with each other. And again, the therapy will be part of all of that. So again, yes, it's very different when you're not the custodial parent versus, or you're not a married couple, but you're the one that is the weekend father or the, change week father, right? And how we do that. So other things that we'll be doing is we'll be hosting daddy days.
And what does that mean?
So we are going to be doing activities and hosting activities where fathers can be with their children in safe space with each other and have that peer-to-peer learning, right? That peer-to-peer support, safe space for dads to be dads.
Also, we've got a lot of blended families.
We sure do.
And that's another thing that's kind of hard to navigate, especially if you've got the children. You want your parents to be together, your biological parents, and sometimes that's just not going to happen. So making a blended family work is another issue.
Absolutely. So the parent education becomes really, really vital in that situation. Not only the mediation, because again, we could also have fathers with multiple children or families, you know, and mothers and custodial parents. And so again, the education, the parent education becomes really, really important on that, as well as the mediation between the custodial parents. And we want them to come and join that education together. But let me just say this, until we address the male's needs, until we address the man's needs, until we help him claim and reclaim his brilliance, and then build up his fatherhood skills, the rest of it doesn't matter. An unhealthy mind can't do what it needs to do, in spite of the will
today.
and the heart.
You're right.
So
Speaking
we
the
have
truth.
to stop allowing the universe. I won't blame any one person, but we have to stop blaming the universe, allowing the universe to suppress and tell our men that they are not worthy. Tell our men that they are not capable. Tell our men that they don't matter. That's not true. That is absolutely not true.
We also have a situation, there's a myth rather, that boys need their fathers more than girls.
No, they don't.
Girls need dad too.
Yes. We see the same, and you know, I'm sure Brendalan could talk about this as well, but we see the same trauma in kids, in girls, that we see in boys when the father is not in the home. Mm-hmm. We see an inability for children, women, or young women to relate with other men when they've never had a relationship with their father. Mm-hmm. Right? And they've got to learn sometimes the hard way on how to have that a healthy relationship with a male, if they've never had a healthy relationship with their father. And if they don't have a father who is showing them and there as advisory.
Another issue, of course, that many young folks, young couples deal with, finances. And some use that as, well, you can't see your child because you're not paying this amount of money, or what. How do you navigate that? Because that's emotional as well as financial.
So a couple things. One, everybody needs to understand that sometimes men don't pay their child support because they don't have the money, not because they don't want to pay it. And you have to make a distinction between won't or can't. Right. And when you look at all the services, social services that are out there for men, don't exist. So a mother could easily get sometimes services and money to pay for that child. Oftentimes men don't have that same opportunity or those same social services. So first of all, let's separate between the won't and the can't. The can't is worthy of our time. So our program will provide financial assistance and for those fathers who want to pay, and we will help the family with that child support. We will be working on the fathers upskilling or shifting of their from a job to a career, so that they have the funding that they need, so that it's not such a burden that they can't even take care of themselves. You know, we hear the stories of our men all the time. I came home with a paycheck with $1 in it. How can they take care of themselves? So, and I want our mothers or our custodial parents to understand that, yes, you deserve a partner in raising these kids, both financially and otherwise, right? But let's make sure that we're working together and we're planning together, And so we offer financial empowerment. On top of all of that, we offer financial empowerment classes.
That's what I was getting ready to segue to. You all also offer initiatives that help people deal financially.
Absolutely.
And also going into entrepreneurship. What do you need to do to have your own? So let's talk a little bit about that. What are the financial initiatives that you all are working
So we, 3 years ago, launched our Center for Financial Inclusion. And we believe it is a combination of both financial empowerment and workforce development. We believe we want you to work on your entire profit and loss statement, not just of your expenses. Many programs just focused on your expenses and telling you how to spend, how not to spend and all that. No, we want you to make money too. So we're here to help you increase your level of earnings, and then we're here to help you to make decisions about how you want to spend your earnings. And it's not about a budget, it's about a financial freedom plan. It's about a financial liberation plan.
That's such a wonderful name for a budget. Go ahead.
So what we want people to do is understand why they make the financial decisions that they make, right? Who was your financial mentor when you were growing up? Did you experience financial trauma when you grew up? What is having, we heard a story about a 17-year-old who had a child, and he had $2,000 worth of child support debt at 17 with no job. How do you, right? So we want to make sure that people understand, one, why they make the decisions that they make, examine the root cause behind those decisions, and then show them, if you want to make a different decision, then let's go through that financial freedom plan. Where do you want to spend your money? And let's allocate that out.
And Kimberly, it's so important to get people when they're young.
Absolutely. That's why we start at the Back to School Festival. You will see that at our Center for Financial Inclusion booth, it is all about the kids. They are playing financial empowerment bingo. They are learning about investing money, making money. And
how do you make the idea of that accessible? If that's not what they're seeing at home, how do you make that idea appeal to young folks?
Well, it's all in how you deliver it. Again, gamification is always good. So you'll see at the Back to School Festival for the Financial Empowerment booth, it's all about games, right? So the kids come and play a game, and they're playing, bingo game. They're playing a spin the wheel game, a trivia game, and they're answering those questions. And then there is education, financial empowerment for children in their language, right? And so we have that. We're not just teaching the parents, we're also teaching the kids in our Financial Empowerment Center, right? So while the parents are doing their financial freedom plan, right, the kids are learning about investing. The kids are learning about, how to put their own financial plan together. How do they want to spend money? What are the terminologies? So teaching them the acumen of economics is so important.
What about starting your own business?
Ooh, yes, we have been in this, and we have gone through so many different cycles to get this right. There's so many programs that want to just do business planning, and they help you do your business plan. That's not it. People have business plans that never get executed. People have dreams that are still in their head, and they never get implemented. So we had to take a step back, and we're taking a holistic approach. We start with therapy and understanding mindfulness. What does it take to be an entrepreneur, and are you ready? Our first thing is helping people understand what it means to be ready to take on.
What does it mean to be ready?
Ooh, you have to have that mind. You've got to be ready. You've got to be ready for the understanding the risks of going it alone. You've got to understand the amount of effort that it takes to run a business, get to the point where you can then not work in your business, but on your business, i.e. you can now hire people. What is the burden of hiring somebody and having somebody else's life in your hands? How do you build up for that? So we talk about self-care. We talk about putting boundaries around your business so that you aren't walking 24/7. So we bring in experts to show them how to design their organization, how to build up their infrastructure, how to work together. Don't always go it alone. You can always work with somebody else. You've got a product. Why introduce it by yourself? Why not find somebody else who's got a retail store or an online store and introduce it through somebody else? Work together. That is another way, and eases when you're building with community and you're building with others, it eases your way into the process. But we always tell folks, if you have a full-time job, don't quit it. Don't quit it to start. Keep working. Build up your nest egg. Build up your plans. Have an execution plan and start slowly, start gradually, until you got to the point where you've got enough cash flow in where you can let go of that other job.
I know starting a business is scary, especially we saw with COVID.
Yes.
The number of businesses, and this happens normally, but with COVID, the number of businesses that went under. How do you help people rid themselves of that fear? You know, I'm going to start this business, but is it going to fail within the first year, within the first 5 years? Why should I do this and it may fail, or it's got a greater chance?
Well, first, I think everybody has to understand their own risk tolerance. And if you don't have that risk tolerance, that would be me. I don't have the risk tolerance to be an entrepreneur, right? So it's getting people to see that. Do I have the risk tolerance to be an entrepreneur? If I have it, and I have a great product, now we're working with you to actually, one, have multiple streams of grain. Don't depend on one stream of grain, right? And make sure that those different streams of greens don't get hit by the same external factors. And when you're in that COVID situation, make sure you're reaching out to the programs that will help you pivot, right? That will help you think through. So having access to expert consultants, business advisors like those at the Greater Washington Urban League are so important. And you shouldn't just use them once here and there. They should be your friend for life. They should be your consultant and your advisor for life. You are going to go through so many cycles in starting and scaling and getting to a thriving position in your business. You're going to need somebody along the way because there's different things at each stage. So when trouble hits, one, you should make sure you're calling your consultant, your advisor, and thinking through, how do I pivot, right? Two, you should always be building that nest egg, even when you have your own business. You've got to have enough cash flow to make it through a certain period of time of trouble, right? So we'll be advising people when they put their own financial freedom together for the business, they've got to have a reserve, right?
I like that idea. Do not leave your job.
Don't leave your job until you truly have enough cash flow. Because we tell people, you can't take. We work with a lot of restaurants. You can't take that spatula and pay your rent. Can't take the spatula and pay your rent. Your rent can only be paid with cash. So understand that it's not just your revenue that matters. It matters how that gets converted to cash, and it matters how much of that ends up in your pocket after you pay your expenses.
I think that makes so much sense to find out who you are mentally.
Yes.
Like you said, you're not one to care to take a lot of risks. You have somebody else who might. So it's good to do that mindfulness to figure out who I am. Is this really for me? Because sometimes you dream something that may not be the right thing for you.
Absolutely, and we also find that not only are people need to figure out if they're ready and how to get ready, and that's what we focus on. We have a whole series. We've got what we call our workshop, our Woke Spark series. Awaken to your dream, and now let's inspire you to execute, right? But awakening to your dream is really examining, are you mentally ready? Do you understand that you belong, that it's in your DNA? It's in Black folks' DNA to be entrepreneurs. And we claim that from day one. Day two is, How are you taking care of yourself? Mentally, are you ready for the challenge? Let's help you, give you tools to get there. And then we help you build the infrastructure. So get woke, get ready, and then we'll help you go from there. But I forgot your question. So, I was all into it.
No, I was just asking, what are the first steps?
Yes.
In getting started from taking it from being a dream, an idea, to making it a reality.
So once you assess that, hey, you're going for it, we're there for you, and you understand that you belong and you're capable, now we're looking at what is it that you're offering, right? Is your product feasible? And here's what we talk about in feasibility. So many people say, oh, I've got this wonderful green hat. Well, who wants it? Right? So many people sometimes think that because they have a wonderful creative idea that they're going to have a feasible business. They are not one and the same. If you don't have a product that somebody wants, it's a piece of art. It's not a product that you can make money with. So make sure that you understand the difference between a piece of art or creative, something that needs to be put on a mural, but not something that you can sell. So the very first thing that we do is understand the feasibility of the product. Who wants to buy your product? Have you segmented your clients? So you've got multiple streams of green. So let's say I do a restaurant. Okay, well, I can have a barbecue sauce that I sell. I've got my restaurant, and I can have a catering business on the other side, right? So in each of those, who am I catering to? Who are my customers? What do they want, right? Will they buy it? Is there a space for another black barbecue sauce on the, right? Is there space for another black restaurant?
Baby Ray's. No, I'm just
Right. So we really do go deep in understanding who the client, who is your customer, and what will they pay for that product.
Now, Kimberly, I could talk to you all day. But let's give you the last word as far as doing things to make sure that both families and children are mentally prepared for the new year ahead. What is your best advice?
My best advice is to, one, limit the screen time. Two,
screen time, yes.
Yes,
Indeed.
social media, TV, all of that. Number two, I recommend that we start putting structured things in place, so a routine for young people, because I think sometimes they transition from the summer to the school year and they still like, okay, your bedtime is 10 o'clock. No, your bedtime may need to be 7 or 8 o'clock. And my third recommendation would be to make sure the kids have a safe place to communicate. Like, they need that space to be able to come home on day one and say, I think I got a problem, and they have that space to be able to communicate that problem.
We've been talking to Kimberly Corbin and Brendalan Jackson. They're with the Greater Washington Urban League, and we've been talking about a number of things, from the start of school to starting your own business to your fatherhood initiatives. And we'll put all of your information at the end of the program, so if people are interested in getting in contact with you, they can do so. You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Enjoy the rest of your day.